Hmm.
Woohoo!
So we've gone through, I think, a fair number of political issues.
Yeah.
We've discussed them from the shared value of freedom. As part of that, we've also looked at things from a liberal and a conservative perspective and tried to understand where those two perspectives come from.
Yeah.
Is there actually a value difference between liberals and conservatives? And if there is, where does it lie? Let's start with the one that we've been spending this entire series on, freedom. Do liberals and conservatives value that one more than the other? Do they have different meanings?
Freedom is a really important value, but it's also a really, traditionally American value. And so I think, conservatives, as the more traditional party, I feel like they value freedom a little bit higher than liberals. But then there are also cases, obviously, where liberals value freedom as well.
The example we've been using most is in the abortion debate. It seems like the liberal position is more obviously the pro-freedom position.
Yeah.
And on gun safety or, gun control, it seems like the conservative position is the more obviously, freedom-oriented position.
Yeah, with all these values, we've seen a lot of, variation with, how much they're valued in certain situations and, what that means for the...
Right. But in this case, both liberals and conservatives value freedom.
Yeah.
And it seems like they mean the same thing when they're talking about freedom. They want to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
The sort of countervailing value to freedom is safety. So, any feelings in terms of liberals and conservatives on safety?
Yeah, so people in general want to be safe, but I do think that liberals might value safety as a value a little bit more.
And particularly if we look at the way this whole COVID, pandemic went down. I think that conservatives were definitely more on the side of kind of like, well, why don't we just let this thing play out a little bit and see what happens? And, liberals were more on the side of strong scientific intervention, as you might expect, right?
Yeah.
Everyone kind of values safety, though.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we kind of mean the same thing by that.
Yeah.
I think as we went through some of these political issues, I think we saw that there's actually a lot of commonality in values.
Yeah. Between
liberals and conservatives. So let me throw out a couple of values that, I don't know, might be more contentious. What about the value of equality?
Equality is just wanting everyone to be treated equally, the same, and I think, fairly.
Well, I think you made a great distinction right there, right? There's the same and then there's fairly.
Yeah.
There's some, little modern internet meme-y kind of things that describe those two terms and that difference in the way we use equality as equality and equity.
Yeah, yeah.
Either way, I think you used a real word, is fairness.
Yeah.
Right? There's equality and then there's fairness.
Yeah.
And I think those are slightly different understandings of a value that has some commonality.
Going into the equality equity thing.
Right.
It's it's true that equality by definition would be treating everyone exactly the same. And then equity is a way of treating people, giving people what they need, people that need more, giving them more, people that need less, giving them less. But I think that equality, as in the value of equality, is very, based off of fairness. And then when people are talking about equality, I think most of the time they are kind of thinking in terms of equity. When they're talking about equality, they aren't thinking okay, everyone gets exactly the same thing, no matter what, no matter, what differences between people. They're sort of thinking, okay, everyone gets what's fair. So, people like things to be fair, and people like things to be equal. But the value of fairness and equality is very dependent on caring a lot about other people. It can be a very selfish thing, Because you could be like lower than other people and then want to like everyone to get to the same level, which would bring you higher. But also, it's a very selfless thing in terms of when you're higher than people, and also in terms of when you're lower than people. And when you, instead of wanting everyone to get treated the same, want to get ranked up to that high place. People that aren't high up in society try to defend the people high in society because they want to get there. Because they don't want everyone to be treated the same. They think that there are people that are lower and there are people that are higher, and they want to be high, and they think that other people deserve to be low. I think from what I've seen, like just in general, liberals, like they value equality, and then conservatives don't really value equality that much.
In the way that you described it, equality is everyone gets treated exactly the same.
Yes.
So I guess to me, in sort of my understanding of, rudimentary political positions, that definitely seems like a conservative value to me. That's sort of their argument in terms of taxation, right? I think conservatives would love it if everyone, regardless of how much they made, got taxed the same percentage of their income. Or maybe even more, something equally, the same amount, right? Let me take it even further than that. The concept of what you talked about in terms of equality or fairness, and there's a distinction to be made, but that is deeply, deeply human. Like, people really care about that.
Yeah, no, I think that wanting to be treated fairly is a very universal thing, because no one wants to feel like they're being cheated out of something. No one wants to feel like they're being duped or tricked. No one wants to feel like they're working harder than someone else for like the same reward, or getting less than someone else when they did the same thing.
And you can see like why I say that's a very a deeply rooted conservative position.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that's largely the conservatives' concern with government, is that it's not really fair. Government is inherently progressive. It takes more money from rich people and uses it for the common good.
Yeah.
I think that conservatives are skeptical of distribution or redistribution of things because they think it's not going to be fair.
Yeah.
Right? Like I work hard, I have to do all this to earn my money, and, this guy gets to freeload because the government's willing to support him. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think when I said it earlier about like how like fair, like how conservatives didn't value equality or being fair, I think that was an unfair thing to say.
Right.
But because like the ultimate argument by conservatives is that capitalism is fair. Capitalism inherently allows you to get like what money you've earned, what money you deserve, and that working hard will get you a lot of money, and that the people that are rich work super hard to get where they are and worked way harder than anyone else, and that the people who are poor are just lazy.
Right. I think that a conservative position would be that everyone's treated the same in capitalism. Everyone's playing by the same rules.
That's the argument.
So it's inherently fair.
Yes.
And it's fair in that equality sense. So talk to me about what you find, of what you think people really mean or really feel when they talk about fairness.
Well, liberals kind of like go a little deeper in their terms of like what they think equality and fairness is. It's like instead of having everything be exactly the same and everything being taxed the same percentage or even the same amount, like you said earlier, I feel like liberals are more on the side of being like, okay, but what would be more fair actually would be everyone like getting the same amount of money.
I guess the point is, on the equity and equality thing, I think they're both saying that they want fairness. Everyone wants it to be fair.
Everyone wants it to be fair.
They just have different conceptions of what fair is at that point.
Yeah.
Right? So that's an interesting thing to note.
Yeah, it's like fairness is a value that's inherently shared, but they have very different interpretations of what that means.
Yeah.
We hope that you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please consider checking out the next one in the series.
Or some of our other series on philosophy and life.
We upload videos every Friday, so don't forget to like and subscribe.
like, and subscribe. See you next week.